Hey everybody, Austin back again, continuing this Castlevania Let's Play Marathon of October 2013. Now, as you can see, we are playing Castlevania Chronicles, and this is for PlayStation. Now, Castlevania Chronicles is sort of a conversion of Castlevania X68000, or Akumajo Dracula, for the X68000, which was basically a computer game for the Sharp X68000 computer in Japan. Now, for a very long time, that game was only available in Japan, and released in 1993, it never saw the light of day outside of Japan until 2001 in Europe and the United States. And in those regions, it was labeled Castlevania Chronicles. Now, what this game is essentially a conversion of Akumajo Dracula from the X68000. However, there's an arrange mode, which we're actually going to be playing through today, that sort of enhances some of the visual effects. It remixes the soundtrack, balances the game a little bit better so it's not nearly as frustratingly difficult, because the original is one of the hardest Castlevania games out there, up there with Castlevania 3 and Haunted Castle and whatnot. But yeah, so we're going to be playing that today. Again, nearing the end of this Castlevania Let's Play Marathon. If you guys have been sticking with this for the whole month, as you know, I've pretty much covered all three NES Castlevanias, Dracula X on the Super Nintendo, the first two Game Boy versions, etc., etc. And so we only have a couple more Castlevania games to cover, and this was one of the ones that was actually requested quite frequently in my comments of those previous Castlevania videos, and here we are now. So again, this is the arrange mode. I had sort of toyed with the idea of doing the original mode as well, but you know, to be honest with you, I suck at the original mode. It's tough, and so just to sort of guarantee us actually getting through the game, we are going to be doing the arrange mode. And so this is where you can actually enter your name. Fortunately, the game does save your progress, which is very cool. And this is so you guys know I am actually doing this live in this Let's Play. So let's go ahead and select it and start from the very beginning of the game. Now, if I actually manage to complete this game in one swoop, I think it's going to take us about an hour to get through. So this is going to be a slightly longer than usual Castlevania run through. All the others, I think, clocked in underneath an hour, but this one, the levels are a little bit longer in this one than some other Castlevania games, so. But yeah. Where to start on this one, man. Now, this game in Japan is actually just called Akumajo Dracula, which basically stands for Demon Castle Dracula, and it is essentially a recreation of the very original Castlevania game from the 8-bit Nintendo, or in Japan, the Famicom. And so, if you guys are very familiar with the first Castlevania game, or even slightly familiar with the first Castlevania game on the NES, you're gonna see a lot of familiar things in this game, if you've never played this one before anyway. So, you know, I think that's actually pretty cool, and, you know, obviously I'm a huge fan of the Castlevania series. I love the first one especially. I mean, that's really what got me interested in the series, was that game, and I've pretty much been hooked ever since. And, you know, so it's great to see a lot of those sort of locales and environments recreated in this sort of early 90s 16-bit style. And, you know, everything looks pretty good for the most part in this game. I don't think it's quite up to par with Super Castlevania 4, despite this game actually coming out 2 years later. But it's still really, really solid, and everything's still really detailed, and it's just great to see a lot of the classic Castlevania stages sort of remade in this new style. Now, actually, I wanted to mention something here. In the original Castlevania, you would bash these blocks open to get some meat. But instead, if you do it in this game, you pretty much are greeted to a lot of hunchbacks, and they just constantly spawn out of here infinitely. And you really don't want to let them go, otherwise, yeah, you're pretty much screwed. They just bounce all over the place, and a lot of them, they all just keep coming out, and it's very tough. So, if you play this game and you get to that section, don't hit that block that you're used to hitting from the first Castlevania game. As you saw me do, you want to hit that sort of left-hand side of the wall as opposed to the right side that you're used to hitting. Okay, now one of the other cool features about this game is, again, created actually, or introduced in Castlevania 4, which I was actually confused when I was doing my Bloodlines video last week. I thought this game came before Super Castlevania 4, but apparently it didn't. It actually came out a couple years after Castlevania 4, so the whipping in multiple directions was actually sort of pioneered in Castlevania 4, but this game takes advantage of it as well, fortunately. Unfortunately, you can only attack down, you cannot attack up, which kind of stinks, because at least in Bloodlines you could attack up, which came out a year after this game, but you can attack down at least, which is definitely useful. Not quite as useful as I would like. A lot of the enemies are just sort of horizontal in this game. There's not a whole lot of need to attack down frequently, but there are some situations definitely where it can make life a little bit easier. And as you can see here, is as you play, you can sort of, I don't want to say speed run the game, but you can sort of keep the flow going by constantly attacking down and jumping, which is kind of how I like to play this game. And when we get to Castlevania 4, you'll see that's how I like to play that game as well. Especially that game, because you have even more flexibility due to being able to attack in pretty much all 8 directions, not just you know, left, right, and down, and diagonally down both directions. So again, you know, much like the first Castlevania, your first boss is the Big Bat. Although, he's obviously got a different trick up his sleeve. Basically what happens is after you hit the bat, he'll sort of wind up, and then he'll sort of like slingshot back at you. So you do have to watch out for that. And it looks like we already got an extra life. Now there's actually the third stage in the game, I believe. I'm going to be grinding, I think it's the third stage, either the third or fourth stage. I'm going to be grinding for extra lives. There's a really, really good spot in this game to grind for extra lives. Now, normally I don't do that when I play this game, but really, this is a tough game, and even though I'm playing the arrange mode, which makes things a little bit easier, and fair, in my opinion, the regular mode is kind of like Castlevania 3 at parts. It's really unfair. But you know, despite this mode being a little bit easier, you know, I still want to make sure I don't have to continue and basically play an entire stage over again. Because again, I don't know. I think Castlevania Chronicles, even on the arrange mode, is still a pretty challenging Castlevania game. So I can't make any guarantees as to, you know, me, say, getting through the game without dying, or at least without continuing, much like I did in my Castlevania 3 Let's Play. Surprisingly, I don't even know how the hell I did that. So yeah, there's going to be a part in the coming stages where I'm going to be grinding for extra lives, and it's just, yeah. If you are new to this game, I highly suggest you do the same, and it will make your life a little bit easier. Well, maybe not so much easier as less frustrating, because again, much like other Castlevania games, if you get a game over, you're shot back to the very beginning of the stage, and some of these stages get pretty tough. There are some crazy stages in this game that are difficult, and they're long. They're long and difficult, so, you know, yeah. It'll get frustrating really fast if you're shot back to the beginning every few lives. Which, I mean, unfortunately, that's something you usually have to grind through when you're practicing these games, and kind of like I did in the last few days, trying to prep for this Let's Play to get familiar with the game again. You really have to just, you know, take the punches, I guess. And prepping for this Let's Play, I was not grinding for lives, and I died a lot. And I got game overs a lot, and it was extremely frustrating. Pretty much to the point where I didn't even really feel like playing the game anymore. But, to be fair, the same thing happened with Castlevania 3. And, you know, I just had to, you know, take a breather, you know, take a night off, and then come back to it, and, you know, a lot of that muscle memory I had learned from practicing it previously had sort of stuck and gelled. So, and that's kind of what happened with this, I think. So I'm a little more on point right now, as opposed to, say, last night or the night before. But yeah, I don't even know where I was going with that. So this guy is sort of a secret. You can whack him and try to get the power up you want. Now he's going to drop some meat here, and you do have to attack it at the right time. Got it. I always hit the wrong one and end up getting like the big heart, which gives you 5 hearts. So there's going to be a bat up here, I believe. I always get hit by a bat over here for some reason. Oh, oh, there he is. Great, I missed my ride. Alright. So one of the other cool things about Castlevania Chronicles is that they did remix the music. And you can actually play in the original mode, obviously the original soundtrack. There's also a hidden options sound menu, which sort of recreates, I think, the various sound setups you could use on the X68000. And so I don't remember what the code is exactly. I thought it dealt something with like holding L and R on some screen or something like that. I don't remember. It's been about 10 years since I've actually used that code, so I don't remember what it is. But that is there too. And I believe that you can actually use like the classic soundtracks in the arrange mode, which is pretty cool. Oops, that was bad. I didn't want that. I got the dagger. The dagger to me is really only useful on one stage, and it's fighting the Medusa boss of all bosses. So what I'm going to try to do is on the Medusa boss is get the dagger and hope I can beat her in one shot. Now the Medusa is usually one of the toughest bosses for me, and she doesn't have really a set pattern. And that's actually one of my problems with this game, is that some of the bosses in this game don't really have like a finite pattern. They're a little random, and, you know, I guess in terms of replay value, that can be a good thing, because the boss isn't totally predictable, but it also makes this game extremely difficult, because you're kind of a tank in this game. You're not a very fast Simon Belmont in this game, and there are some bosses, for instance, the werewolf on stage 4, I believe it is. No, it's stage 5. I forgot about this level. Not this level, but this boss, the wizard or warlock we have to fight. He's actually a really easy boss. But the werewolf we have to fight just bounces around the screen so fast, you're just like, how am I supposed to dodge anything? And there are literally some attacks that I haven't been able to get around. So, you know, it can get, some of the bosses can get really frustrating, and Medusa is one of them. She just bounces all over the screen, and it's tough. Now, in my Castlevania 3 Let's Play, I was talking about how some Medusa bosses are just absurdly easy, while others are just really difficult. And this is one of those instances where Medusa, in my opinion, is really difficult. So, and you'll get to see that in just a little bit. And you got these guys that come out of the trees. They are actually, they made their first appearance in Haunted Castle, the Castlevania arcade game. Now, I don't remember the exact date when that game came out. I thought it was right around the time of the first Castlevania in the US. I think it was something like that. It was like 86 or 87 or something like that. It might have even come out in 88. I think it actually might have been just shortly after the original Castlevania's US release. If somebody knows the exact date on that, you know, post a comment below. I did not look that up prior to doing this video, and it was something I've actually been meaning to clarify for a while. Read about it a long time ago, but you know, it's been a while since I've double-checked that info. But yeah, those guys that come out of the trees, they pretty much came into being through Haunted Castle. Now, if you are cool with using MAME, you know, emulation of arcade games, I highly recommend checking out Haunted Castle. It's sort of a clunky Castlevania game, but you know, it's still a really neat game, and it's tough, and I like it. It's very slow and again clunky, but I dig it. And about 10 to 12 years ago, I actually loaded it up in MAME and pretty much practiced it and completed it. It's the only time I've ever done that before, and trying it recently, I'm extremely out of touch with it, and I definitely need to practice it if I plan on beating that game again. Which I should do that, because I've pretty much beaten every other Castlevania game from the same time period. in the last month, so I should attempt Haunted Castle. Alright, so we're pretty much 2/3 of the way through this stage already, and this is where things start getting pretty tricky. For instance, right here, when I first got here, I just kept walking back and forth. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? I'm stuck? Can't go up the staircase. But no, there's actually some breakable blocks right here. And if you're not paying attention, you actually won't really, you know, those won't really stick out to you, and you'll just keep walking back and forth. So that's something to definitely be aware of when you're playing this game. These are just going to be some money bags and some hearts. And there's actually a stopwatch here. But, yeah, I don't really need it. What I would like, though, is the axe, but it looks like I don't have it. And the last time I played this stage, I had the axe, and it actually made this upcoming part much easier. There's just going to be this dude's gonna be in the ground, this big worm sort of thing. And he will actually come up and hit you, just like that, and you'll die. God damn it, I wish I had the axe. If you have the axe, you can actually sort of sit up on the higher plane and just toss the axe and kill him in a few hits. And I don't even know how I had the axe that last time I got here. I must have just kept the axe from a previous stage. I think that's what it was. I think I had the axe from level 2. And I ended up keeping the axe for a few levels because I had it powered up to 3 times to where you can toss 3 out on screen at once. And, you know, that definitely made life a little bit easier in certain cases, but I don't have that now, so... You know, certain areas of this game can be made much more difficult or easier based on the secondary item you have. And so unfortunately I had the boomerang, which is usually a really solid weapon to have, but not in this instance right here. So, but the stopwatch is good. Skip the guy completely. There's always a block you can break in there, and I don't know why you can do that. It's just there. Now having the stopwatch will actually make this part easier too, because as you break these blocks, more hunchbacks come out. Don't ask me why that makes sense. I don't really think it does, but it happens, and those hunchbacks can really make your life difficult in this game. They are definitely more sort of annoying than other hunchbacks in other Castlevania games. Now, unlike, say, the very first Castlevania game on the NES, in some cases... Actually, I'm going to go with the dagger this time, even though I really should just stick with the boomerang. Sometimes the dagger actually is, you know, more useful, because the boomerang actually doesn't go... Or the cross, I should say, as its correct name is, doesn't always go all the way across the screen. It's weird. So it's not quite as useful as it is in other Castlevania games, but yeah, I digress. So I'm going to go ahead and use just the dagger in this situation, because it does go all the way across the screen. But what was I saying before that? I totally lost track. So this dude is really easy. He just kind of bounces back and forth every time you hit him. And most of the time you can just jump up and hit him. He's not really that challenging. Or if he's all the way across the screen, just toss a dagger at him. Kind of like so. Just watch out for this guy right here. Oh, he went that way. Normally he goes from the right to the left, and you could just totally avoid him. Strange. That was the first time I've seen that. But yeah, that's actually one of the, probably the easiest boss in the game, aside from the first bat boss. And the second boss is actually, can be challenging if you're playing original mode. Because one of the things I actually wanted to mention is if you get hit in this game, in arranged mode you just bounce straight up. Whereas the original mode, or the original X68000 version, you get bounced back, kind of like Ninja Gaiden or the classic Castlevania games. Which can make the second boss extremely difficult, because you can get totally knocked back off that raft. But in arranged mode, that second boss isn't too bad. But you know, the first and third bosses, I think, are definitely the easiest in the game, that's for sure. So now from here on out, the bosses get definitely more tricky, and the Medusa is really the start of that. But we're actually at the stage I mentioned earlier where we're pretty much going to grind for extra lives. So let's try to just make our way up there as quickly as possible to have as much time to do that. And, you know, if you watch my Castlevania Bloodlines Let's Play, there was a part in the game, I believe it was on the, I think it's, was it France or was it Italy? I don't, no, it was France. It was France, because Italy is the Leaning Tower of Pisa. It was the France stage, second to last level in the game. And, on the part where you sort of just, like, walk through the fountain area, you're, like, in water. Oh, I got the invincibility. That was weird. I don't think I've ever gotten that while playing this game. Not recently, anyway. It's not something you see frequently in this game. But, as I was saying, in that part in Bloodlines, there's a bunch of red skeletons. Or, I don't know if they're just called red skeletons, or, like, blood skeletons, or something like that. They're basically the skeletons that you cannot kill, and they just constantly come back to life, over and over and over again. It's these guys right here. And in Bloodlines, I was sort of like grinding for points, just for a brief moment, just to demonstrate it. And you can basically do the same thing in that game, is sort of just grind for extra lives. And unfortunately, you don't have as much time in that game to do it, as far as I remember. But this one, I've got 400 seconds to just sort of dick around and get lots of free lives. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get some extra lives, guys. Because, you know, I had a really good run just a few minutes ago before doing this Let's Play, but, you know, since I'm talking and playing at the same time, chances are my performance isn't gonna be up to snuff. And I'm probably gonna need these lives. Oh, what I like to do is actually get over here, because they can't hit you. Now, unfortunately, they will fall down, so you have to sort of, you know, just keep attacking. There's one extra life. Look at my score going up. I think each one gives you 500 points. So, I mean, you're looking at thousands of points each time you do this. My score is just snowballing very, very fast. I'm gonna get my next extra life very soon, actually, I'm pretty sure. Now, if you really wanted to, you could literally just die over and over and keep doing this and get like 20 lives and then go through the rest of the game. Because theoretically, you're going to do this, you're going to get 3 extra lives probably every time you do it, maybe 4, maybe more. And then you die once and you do it again. Now, I don't think there's a cutoff for extra lives. There's another one. I don't think there's like a point where your score just stops giving you extra lives, because when I beat this game just a little while back, earlier today, I had 8 lives when I was finished, and that was with dying a few times. I think I died 3 times. So, yeah, that's a lot of extra lives, just, you know, even with dying. So, yeah, I don't really think the score cuts off, or you know, cuts off the amount of extra lives it gives you, so... Look at this. I'm thinking maybe 7 or 8 is probably good, and I'm sure I'll still get some extra lives. Some extra lives. There's another one. We're up to 7 now. Now this is actually Bloody Tears, which for us in the States, at least in the console realm, made its appearance in Castlevania 2. It's definitely one of the most classic tunes in the series. I mean, it's one of the oldest tunes in the series, but it's also one of the greatest. And its remixes are always typically good as well. I don't remember if I'm correct or not, but it may have actually appeared in Haunted Castle, the arcade game. And again, I don't remember if that came before Castlevania 2. Castlevania 2 actually may have come before Haunted Castle in Japan. I don't remember. Again, it's one of those date things. So I don't remember if Bloody Tears originated in Castlevania 2, or if it originated in Haunted Castle, the arcade game. I'm pretty sure it was in Haunted Castle. Again, it's been about 10 years since I've beaten that game and gotten to the point in the game where Bloody Tears might be played. Alright, so I'm actually getting close to, yeah, let's just go ahead and push along. I got a good amount of lives, and this should be enough time to get to Medusa, hopefully beat her on my first try, and then, yeah, still have some time to spare. So, this is actually one of those levels that was in the original Castlevania, and it's actually level 2 from the original Castlevania. And of course, it's rearranged a little bit. It's not identical, but it definitely has some segments that are very similar. Like this part right here is pretty much identical. Even with the sort of spike platforms, whatever you want to call them, the grinding things right there. Holy water is still in the same spot. Don't really want it for this boss though. Again, I want to keep the dagger for Medusa, because it actually made my life a lot easier last time I ran through this game. It was actually the first time I ever got to Medusa with the dagger. I always got the holy water. But unfortunately, the holy water is really not that useful in this game. Much like Bloodlines, much like Dracula X, both versions of Dracula X, Super Nintendo and Turbo Duo. Again, the holy water is just not that useful. It doesn't do the crazy amount of damage that it does in Castlevania 1 or 3. It still does some damage, but it's not really worth it. It's just not worth it. And I seriously have no idea how to get up these stairs without getting boned to death. So, without having the axe anyway. Alright, now this is actually going to be an interesting segment. Let me pause it so my time doesn't run out. This guy's going to smash through the stained glass in the background. And normally, you'll go up the stairs and follow him up to the left. And he takes a lot of hits, and then after you defeat him, the glass pieces that make him up will sort of home in on you. And it's really tough to get by him without getting hit. But I discovered this trick last night while playing this game and being like, really? That's it? So just watch this. If you come up here, and when you jump, you'll trigger him. So here he is. Now he's just gonna move around and just fall down, and you can just totally skip him. Just like this. And that dude used to give me so much trouble back in the day. It used to be one of the toughest parts in the game for me. And here we are now. Don't even have to worry about it. Pretty much no problem. It's gonna be some meat right here. They changed the spot of that, I think. I don't remember where it was in the first Castlevania. Alright, so we're going to just use the dagger from a distance and hope that Medusa sort of stays back and just does her projectile stuff. Yeah, I'm running out of time, so I need to hurry up. When that really annoying sound happens in the background, that means your time's running out. But I got this. Oh, that was close. Wow, did it without getting hit. That's a first, I think, for Medusa. So that's why I like the dagger on this boss. As you can see, I just stood back, played the distance game. If you get up close, she starts bouncing around like crazy and tosses her tail at you. And there's no way to really stun her. She's just, even when you hit her a few times and you did more damage than she's blinking, she will still come after you. And yeah, so stay back when you're fighting Medusa in this game. Alright, now this is where the game sort of takes a break soundtrack-wise, and it's just like, kind of like boring music, but, you know, it fits the scenario, I guess. Death Stage actually is kind of the same way. It's very, just sort of like creepy music. It's nothing really great in terms of Castlevania music, unfortunately. It's definitely one of the drawbacks of this game, is not every track in the game is amazing. In terms of like catchy music and things like that. There are a few stages that just have kind of boring, monotonous music. But Castlevania 3 is a bit of the same way. And again, Castlevania Adventure 2 on the Game Boy was the same way as well. I actually mentioned that, I believe, on the final stage in that game in my Let's Play for it. It's just like, you go through a game, pretty much like 5 or 6 levels with like amazing music, and then you have just this really awful track at the end of the game that just, it's like anticlimactic. This game isn't quite as bad. The last stage in this game uses the theme of Simon music from Super Castlevania 4, which is probably one of my favorite tunes in the whole series. It's a great tune. They use it at pretty much the last level for Castlevania Bloodlines as well. So good stuff, good stuff. So, I mean, it's not like this game ends on a low note like Castlevania Adventure 2 did on the Game Boy. But, again, there are some stages in this game that just are there probably more for suspense and things like that. And you'll kind of see what I mean there. Whoa. Totally got hit by a Medusa that wasn't even on the screen. She was like above the screen. But yeah, you'll definitely be able to tell, especially on Death's level, that, you know, the music, they were trying to go for suspense. Because there's some crazy stuff that happens on Death's stage. And we should be there shortly, provided this boss doesn't give me too much trouble. And what would be cool in this part is having the stopwatch. There's going to be more Medusa heads, as you can see here. And these contraptions made an appearance in Bloodlines on, coincidentally, the clock tower stage as well. Or it wasn't really so much a clock tower in that game, it was just like a factory. But they had the gears like it was the clock tower. Whoa, crap. Ooh, that was close. That was gonna fall down in those spikes. Pretty sure those spikes kill you in one hit, so... Now this is something I don't really understand. There's these blocks you can break. They don't seem to really do anything. Oh, look at that! They do something! And I got another extra life for killing the Medusa for points. That's hilarious. So I'm up to 10 lives now. Okay, so that's actually... I'm glad I discovered that. Pretty much if you just stand in that place for a few seconds, kind of like Symphony of the Night, there's a secret you can get to. Not really a secret, but a room you can get to by standing in spot for a few seconds, and you'll sort of just like... The game will lower you, like an elevator will appear and it'll lower you down. So you do that there in this game, and it gives you an extra life. That's cool. Very cool. That was definitely something I've never noticed before in this game, or never figured out, so I'm glad I did. Alright, there's gonna be some meat up here. Kill that guy first. The roaming, floating eyeball. I don't remember what their names are. Now this stage is really annoying the first few times you get to it. Basically these gears you see, some of them, and they're in very set places, they'll pretty much fall, and they'll always fall in the exact same spot, so it's really about knowing where they will fall. And one of them I think was up here, right there. And that gear is going to pretty much just drop down like that, and then you can go ahead and progress through the stage. Now, you really need to know exactly where all of these are, otherwise you're going to have a hell of a time. So there should be one up here, and you can whip them. Unfortunately, you cannot... Ooh, I always forget about that one. It's always a surprise. But you can whip them and push them out of the way. Alright. Yeah, this game just... some parts in this game are just kind of crazy. And very frustrating. Money bag right there. But, I mean, again, this is one of those games where you really have to memorize what you're doing in order for it to be as fun as it can be. But if you're not the kind of person that likes to memorize your Castlevania games, then... this is going to be one of the more frustrating games for you, even on the arrange mode, which I'm playing right now. Again, this is an easier mode, but it is still challenging. You know, don't get me wrong, it is still challenging. Alright, so basically this guy is crazy fast. And the goal is to get his life down to a certain point, have the boomerang, and then after that point, he'll actually take out one of the stems from, or the arms from the clock, and then play a horizontal ground game. And that's where you want him to be, because then he's a lot easier and you can play the distance game, much like we did with Medusa, just like this. See? But the first 3/4 of his health bar, or her, or it, it's tough. As you saw, he was just bouncing all the way around the screen, and it's very difficult to avoid the projectiles he fires at you. Now, you can actually attack the projectiles, but since you can't attack up like you can in Bloodlines and Castlevania 4, it's half the time you can't really attack the projectiles. I mean, I don't really feel that guy's got a set pattern. I think it depends on where he is on the screen and where you attack him from. Or maybe it is a set pattern. He just bounces around so fast. I don't know what that pattern is. Maybe it's one of those like bosses I should just like record and then play back in total slow motion and study it. I don't have time for that. But yeah. This is one of those sections where you can sort of just fall down over and over again. Although there is going to be a secret money bag up here. If you walk all the way over here, then walk straight back. But it's tough to get, because it's only there for a few seconds. Oh, see? I was too late. Too slow. Doesn't come back either. So. But yeah. And this is it. Don't fall down here, otherwise you'll die. So here's the obligatory sort of like bridge section, and like in other Castlevania games, Castlevania 4 especially, the bridge falls apart. Although this is a little bit trickier than some of the other Castlevania games because Medusa heads are coming at the same time. And what I like to do is sort of keep jumping and sort of bait the Medusa heads into sort of appearing higher up on the screen. It makes your life a little bit easier to attack them, as opposed to them being lower and then coming back up and, say, landing on your foot or something like that. Oh, what the hell? Really? I don't think that's ever even happened to me. I totally had that jump. Oh, I guess I'm using the stopwatch. Didn't really want to, but hey, the stopwatch is actually, you know, don't be ashamed to use it. It's actually a really solid item. It's just that, damn, I'm getting sloppy. It's just that I usually like to play with, you know, the offensive weapons. Okay. Got it that time. I don't know, I think I got it. Did I get an extra life from that? I don't know. But yeah, usually I like to play with the offensive weapons, but in reality, you know, the stopwatch is actually probably one of the more useful items in the game. It's a really good item. And there's the cross again, but, you know, I'm going to go ahead and stick it out with the stopwatch. If you really want to, you can just use the stopwatch and just skip the Medusa heads completely. Although they're going to come right back out. Man. Let's not die here again. I hate repeating sections over and over again, especially on Let's Play videos. Ha ha ha. Almost there. Yep, got it. Alright, now this is our next checkpoint, so if I die here, then no biggie. But we're about halfway through the stage now. Or maybe 1/3 of the way through it. This section is actually kind of long. But fortunately, I do have the stopwatch. I might as well go ahead and just keep it. Because I don't really need any other item for the boss. This boss is unique. Unique and challenging. Ooh, that was bad. So now it's one more hit and I'm dead. So let's use the stopwatch again. Now there is going to be some meat up here. but it's a little bit tricky to obtain, and you'll see why in just a moment. Alright, the stopwatch takes 5 hearts exactly, so I knew that was probably going to be a big heart, and that basically gives me 2 uses on it. Oh, what? Stupid respawning freaking enemies. See, I totally could have had that, but nope. Could have survived it, I mean, without dying. Oh well, it was a valiant effort, I think. Not really. Alright. I'm actually a little out of it today, guys, as far as recording this video. I wasn't really planning on doing this Let's Play. I mean, at least not tonight. Because I've actually started my new job last week. Been at this job for about 5-6 days now, technically. And so my sleep schedule is all out of whack. Before working this job, I was working 3 to midnight every night and staying up till 6 a.m. But now that I'm in training at this new job, I work 9 to 5 currently, just, you know, in training. And that will eventually switch to another weird schedule again, because, you know, I'm in 24/7 IT, so, you know, schedules are weird in that field. And there we go, that's how you do it. So basically, you know, I'm recording this around midnight, and really I should be trying to go to bed, you know, because I gotta wake up in 7 or 8 hours, so. But, you know, I'm still so used to staying up all night, and, you know, I did work today, you know, it was 8 hours of training, and, you know, I am a little tired. I went to Pinball League, you know, because previously I couldn't go to Pinball League because of my old work schedule. It conflicted with it. So now that I've had sort of like a normal person schedule, I've been sort of visiting League for the last few weeks just to sort of reacquaint myself with the people there and, you know, play some pinball with some of my old pinball friends. And I'm not really old, it's just, you know, I still see them on the weekends, but, you know, because of my old work schedule, I could not play League with them anymore, which kind of sucked. I liked playing League. Yeah, so I went out there tonight, played some pinball. Yeah, I left a little early. I didn't stay as late as I normally would, because, you know, I just... Yeah. And, so yeah, but here I am now. When I got home, it was around, you know, probably around 10 p.m., and I went ahead and beat this game straight through. I just wanted to see if I could do it, because, you know, the last few nights I wasn't able to do it just straight through. And I managed to do it straight through with only dying like 2 or 3 times. Taking my time, much more so than I usually would when I play this game. And but I had a really solid run overall. I was really surprised, and so I was like, you know what, let's go ahead and just do the Let's Play right now, since I'm kind of warmed up, you know? So, but yeah, here we are now. But as I was saying, I am definitely a little bit out of it. I'm just, I don't know, I'm not completely attentive right now. I don't really know how to explain. I'm just tired. I think that's what it is. So, if I stutter or talk strange or slur my words, it's because I probably shouldn't be doing this Let's Play right now. Simple as that. So these axe armors, a lot of times what will happen is when you kill them, they'll give you a 5er of hearts. And then look at my hearts. I'm already up to 83. There's gonna be some holy water right here. There's gonna be some meat right here. So it's actually good to like grind on these guys for a little bit, because you can build your heart count like really, really fast. Ooh, look at that. I'm gonna get that. This is something else you sometimes get from some bigger enemies, and it's basically like an herb. And when you use it, it takes up 10 hearts, but it gives you like 4 or 5 blocks of health back. It's really, really useful, and oh god, I hope the doppelganger doesn't have it. The doppelganger mimics whatever weapon you have. No, he's not. That would be hilarious if he kept recharging his own health. Well, not really, that would suck. He should jump up and then jump back down, and you can sort of just keep crossing him over like this. This boss is kind of a pain. I mean, probably one of my least favorite bosses in this game. He's a cool boss, like especially when he dies and, you know, all this glass shatters out of him. But he'd definitely be a frustrating boss, that's for sure. But I did find out that you can basically like bait him into going over to the side of the screens, and he'll always jump up onto the next platform. And that gives you enough time to run underneath him. What you do not want to do on this boss is just sit in front of him and whip, because he actually can whip faster than you can, and he'll just keep whipping. Very much like the doppelganger in Castlevania 3. Except the doppelganger in that game, in the last Let's Play, I got pretty lucky and discovered that if you play as Sypha, you could just totally glitch out the boss, and they don't even know to come up and attack you. It's... I'm actually really glad I found that out, because, you know, I probably would have gotten stuck at that boss in that Let's Play, and you guys would not have been able to see the end of that game. So these skeletons that pop up, they're a little bit different than usual. They take 2 hits, and you have to kill them fast, otherwise they'll pretty much explode into a bunch of bones, and the bones will hurt you. Now this guy, you kind of just want to jump over to the left. He takes about 5 or 6 hits. Fortunately, I still have the herb from the last stage. Just like old Castlevania games, you do keep your weapons, or your items in this case. This isn't really a weapon per se. But you do keep your secondary items through to the next stage. So what I'm going to actually do is try to play it safe and hold on to this. Now, the only weapon I really want on this stage is the boomerang, and that's for when I fight death. In any other situation, I don't really need a weapon. So what I'm going to do is actually try to just keep this herb and just play it with the herb. Now this bone guy, you just let him walk over you. Now what you're supposed to do is actually hit him a few times and sort of anger him, and he bolts forward. And, you know, he just goes right over you in one fell swoop. But he was just moseying along that time. So, alright, I'm going to be really careful about hitting these candles, because again, I want to keep this herb. Use it right as I got hit, and it kind of like canceled out the hit, which was nice. Oh, got hit again. Now again, the herb takes 10 hearts, so, you know, it uses up more hearts than any other item in the game. I think pretty much every other item, except for the stopwatch, only takes 1 heart to use. So, you know, the herb is definitely unique in that regard. But I think it's actually good that it uses up 10, because it keeps things sort of balanced, you know. It'd be kind of cheap if the herb only took up like 1, or even just 5 hearts, and you could just constantly refill your life again and again and again. Now, obviously, you can still do that now. Ooh, that hurt. But you have to be a little more careful about it in this case. You know, like, when do I use the herb? Like, I just got hit once, and it only took away 2 hit points. Do I use the herb? Well, no. You don't use the herb. You want to save it for when you have 10 hearts and, you know, you have 6 or 7 hit points taken away from you. So. Now there's actually going to be some meat down here, and this is actually the preferred way I like to go, is going down instead of up like I did, but I'm talking right now, so it's... I'm not quite thinking straight. Now this sort of spike thing is actually triggered by jumping, so you really don't want to jump here. And this one is triggered just by walking in front of this block, and you can... Actually, you don't even... Oh, ow! You do have to jump over it. Okay. I was like, wait, can you just walk over it? It seems like it only does damage, though, when it's actually going up. So this is very Bloodlines-like and Super Castlevania 4-like in some regards. It's really big blades. Fortunately, I don't... Well, obviously some of those previously did not kill me in one hit, but I don't know if any of those other bigger ones do. Fortunately, I have not had the luxury of finding out yet, so... Alright, another 5er, which you could definitely use that. Especially in this next section, you fight a big Frankenstein enemy. Don't need the axe. Again, I don't really need any specific weapon in this level, so I'm going to go ahead and just milk the herb through and through. And really what I should try to do is just milk the herb for the final stage, but you know what, I'm going to play it just normal on the final stage. You know, yeah, totally just gonna play it normal, so. Go down! Ah, I got hit. Couldn't really use that. I got the 2 times, but you can't really use the herb 2 times in a row. Just doesn't make any sense. So Frankenstein, you can just sort of bait him into following you, and he'll like dash forward for a few moments. So it's actually safest to just keep walking over, hit him a few times, and then pummel away. Oh, I always forget that he hits you. When he bends over to die, or explode or whatever, he'll still hurt you. So I actually died at him earlier. I had 1 hit point left. And he did that. It totally caught me off guard. And so I died. Now, much like the first Castlevania game, there's going to be a hidden sort of relic here by jumping down, just like so. It's one of the Moai heads from the Gradius series. I'm not going to use that yet, because there's going to be another boomerang in just a few moments. Look, another boomerang. 2 in a row. That doesn't happen too often. Now, the reason I want the boomerang is because Death hates the boomerang in this game. He's, very anti-boomerang in this game. And what's great about the boomerang on Death in this one is that it usually does several hits at one time as it's cutting through him. And so again, we're going to definitely use the boomerang. Bye-bye, herb. You've treated me well. Oh, man. Fortunately, there's going to be some meat here. And fortunately, I have 10 lives. Grinding really paid off. You know, I've died a couple of times already, and yeah, I've still got 10 lives. So, alright, now this section is just like the section leading up to Death in the very first Castlevania game. It's pretty much identical. You know, the Medusas come out. Oh no! Shoot! Oh man, this just is... that's not good. Shoot, man. I got the holy water, and the holy water is useless on Death in this one, I'm pretty sure anyway. Unfortunately, you can't be cheap with Death and use the holy water on him like you could in the first Castlevania game, and... that's awful. Totally not going to be able to beat him now. I don't think so anyway. I'm running out of time. Can you? Yeah, that was useful. But you can't really do much when he's flying around like that. I knew that was going to happen. Should have walked over. You know, I probably would have lost anyway. I had 17 seconds left, and it takes about 17 seconds for the damn orb to appear. And your time still ticks down when the orb is pretty much preparing after you beat a boss. So, man, that was awful. See, that was another perfect example of, you know, having the wrong weapon just makes your life a lot more difficult on boss fights. You know, usually most parts in the game you can get by without having specific weapons, but the boss fights are a different, you know, different story altogether. Yeah. Stuttered his attack. Thought I had the timing down on that, but I did 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it just stopped for a split second. And then I got hit by the Bone Pillar's fireball. And of course, the blood skeletons. Alright, so now I got the boomerang. You know, we're in better shape now than having, say, the holy water. But it's also a good example as to why you don't, like, really just sit on top of an enemy as you're attacking them. You know, just don't walk forward right away after you kill an enemy. Just wait to see, like, if they drop an item or something like that, you know? Because basically what happened is I just killed a Medusa and just kept walking, and, you know, it dropped the holy water, and I just ran right into it. It's the same reason why you don't just, like, jump into the candles and grab them immediately. Like, you kind of want to attack them from a distance to see what they give you first. Because again, you don't want to get stuck with, like, the wrong weapon or something like that, so... See, look at that, yeah. Boomerang is great against death in this game. Got it. Oh, that was a number 2 up top? I wish I grabbed that first. It's okay, we beat him. Now we are on the final stage. Yeah, 59 minutes already. We haven't even beaten the game. So the original plan, guys, was to hope I could beat this and then run through the original mode at the same time. But you know what? I just don't think that's going to happen. There's just not enough time. And it's actually getting late for me, too, as well. So maybe if I do another Castlevania Let's Play series next year, next October, maybe I'll revisit this game, but do the original mode instead. So, we'll see. Alright. So, this first level basically starts off in this sort of, like, armory kind of place. And, you got a lot of these, well, armored guys. And some can be pretty annoying. A lot of them shoot out. So you have to be really careful. Take your time. You got these guys that have these really big sort of axes. They're sort of reminiscent of the knights from like Symphony of the Night and Dracula X. The purple knights that have like the big spears. They're kind of like them. But in reality, they're probably more or less like recreations of the knights from, like, you know, different takes on the knights from the first Castlevania and, you know, Super Castlevania 4 in a way. These guys, they come at you with shields and swords, and they attack very fast, but you can actually kill them in one hit by attacking their legs. That guy. I knew that guy was coming because there's a sound trigger that plays, and then he comes just flying out. Now, the first time you get to that, you really won't know what's happening, and you probably will get hit. So that's definitely a reason why I wanted to sort of warm up in this this specific Let's Play before actually doing it. Otherwise, I'd be having, you know, potentially a very difficult time at this this section. We're gonna go ahead and just take the top path, because, yeah. Kill a lot of these enemies from a distance, just play it safe. I think there's some meat down there, or a fiver in terms of hearts. I don't know. I don't need any meat, so I'm not even going to try to find out. Now everything sort of just catches on fire here, which is a pretty cool effect. There's gonna be some like fire knights. I'm gonna just try to use the boomerangs if I can. They are sort of fast, tricky enemies, and they do actually toss fireballs along the ground. Just like so, he did it, but fortunately I was still blinking from the last time I got hit. Alright, get out of here. I'm gonna keep the boomerang because, again, I've got, you know, the 3 times. Just checking to see if there are any money bags. Hidden money bags. But there's not. Alright, just like in the first Castlevania game, there's gonna be a bunch of bats. And fortunately, these guys aren't as difficult as they are in the first game. You can actually just pummel them really fast if you want to just try to take them all out, which I might very well do. Just, you know, because you don't want 5 or 6 bats chasing you, so. And you could do this, just like in the first Castlevania game. And use the stopwatch to take them out. Now that's a very tight jump right there. What you have to do is sort of like hang off the edge, like so, and then make your jump. Otherwise you're not going to make the jump. Simple as that. Castlevania 3 had a couple of really, really tight jumps like that as well. Super Castlevania 4, I think, had 1 or 2. But I don't think they were as detrimental to miss. Like, in Castlevania 4, there's one vertical section pretty early on in the game, especially, that had a very, very tight jump at the end. But I think if you missed it, you just scrolled the screen down. Or I could be wrong. Maybe you did die. I don't remember. We'll find out when I do that Let's Play shortly. Watch out for next week. Alright, do I want that? No, I'm going to stick with this for now. You got these sort of maids. Vampire maids, probably, or demon maids. And they make appearances in later Metroidvania Castlevania-style games. Especially, like, Dawn of Sorrow. God, that's a great game. Dawn of Sorrow is an amazing Castlevania game. I didn't appreciate it that much at first, but after beating it a couple times, I can safely say it's probably one of my favorite in the whole series. Just an all-around great Castlevania game. Alright, so we are pretty much at Dracula, and I'm not going to be able to do this without dying, because I pretty much got 1 hit and I'm dead, I'm pretty sure. That or 2 hits. It's either 1 or 2 hits. Dracula's first form is very much like it is in Bloodlines. You have to sort of... I don't even know how to explain it. Just watch me play. He shoots out fireballs, and you have to kind of like hit his head and whip the fireballs at the same time. So what you do is you just sort of like wave the whip down, and I screwed that up. Definitely not going to do it now. Your timing's got to be just right. You can jump... sorry... Ooh, crap. I'm trying to talk and play at the same time. It's just not working right now. It's just not working. Alright. I should probably just shut up while I'm trying to play this guy. Just a heads up, when I go into this, I like to make sure I don't use my boomerang, because what I want to do is save it for Dracula's second form. Because Dracula basically turns into the old classic beast that he turned into from the first Castlevania game. It has a very similar pattern, but he also shoots a lot of fireballs, and I definitely want to save the boomerang to sort of stay back on Dracula's second form. So let me just shut up and try to beat this guy. Alright, so yeah. That was much easier without talking. Whoa! Oh, you can duck that. But you can't duck that. Damn! Alright, got him. That did not go quite as smoothly as it did on my last playthrough. But, look, it's headbanging Simon! But, yeah, on the last playthrough, he sort of, like, appeared more towards, like, the right-hand side of the screen. And he just shot his fireballs out. And his fireballs sort of ricochet off the ground and bounce back up. And you can pretty much just duck them and avoid them. But when he's up close, you can't really do that. You have to try to whip the fireballs. But he shoots out so many at one time, it's very difficult to do that. So, now here's a full motion video sequence added in for the PlayStation version of this game. I don't think it's in the original mode. I don't know. It's probably been, again, about 10 years since I've actually beaten the original mode. To go on another tangent, I bought this game right when it came out in America. 2001. It was about fall 2001 when this game came out. I had just started my pretty much first and one of my only years of college. And it was a budget release when it came out. It was $20. And it was totally worth it back then, because I had never played this iteration of Castlevania ever. Because, again, it was only released in Japan on a very specific computer that is really expensive today. And probably was back then to obtain also. But, yeah, I enjoyed it. I found it was very hard, but I managed to beat the game on the very first night I had it. Granted, I played it for hours and hours and hours. You know, I found the original mode to be very difficult, so what I did back then is practice the arrange mode, which we just ran through. And that was pretty cool, because it sort of like acted as like the training sort of portion of the game. And, you know, granted, you know, the arrange mode is still pretty tough. It's not an easy Castlevania game by any means, but, you know, that helped me prep for the original mode, and then after beating the arrange mode, went back and played the original mode, and I beat that too. I think pretty much the first night I had the game. And I was also more in my prime when it came to Castlevania video games and so forth back then, because back then, pretty much all I did was play video games. Play video games and maybe built the occasional website, you know, but I definitely played a lot more games back then, much more regularly, so I was definitely more on point, especially with the Castlevania series. So even when this game first came out, I pretty much stormed through it on my first night, but it did take some practice, you know, a few hours worth of practice. But yeah, so yeah, I was there when this game came out, had it on launch day, and yeah, I enjoyed it. So it's a nice little Castlevania game. It's great to see that it eventually came out to the US. You know, there really aren't too many other Castlevania games that did not come out to America. I mean, so this was one of them, and it's great that we got it, and we are able to play it today. Now, when you do beat the game, you actually unlock Time Attack, and I'm not sure if that's just for the arrange mode. There's also a ranking, and pretty sure the ranking was already there without having to beat the game. Wait, no. These are Time Attack rankings. Okay. So maybe that isn't there. Okay. Never mind. But, yeah. Castlevania Chronicles, guys. What a day. It's been a long day for me, and I'm still talking. So, alright guys, well I'm going to go ahead and just wrap it up here. Again, we are nearing the end of October 2013, which means we're almost done with this Castlevania Let's Play Marathon. But we're not done yet, so definitely stay tuned. Watch out for some more Castlevania videos before Halloween. And until the next video, guys, take care.